have all our represented people who are running for office come here tonight and join us, because there's nothing like seeing a face, hearing a voice, and listening to the ideas of the people who represent us. This is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, the Tonasket Community Cultural Center. We do not endorse any of these candidates, but we welcome each of them to represent the wonderfulness of our United States and the way we conduct our business as electing our representatives. So tonight these are the ground rules. We are going to first introduce, we have two candidates here who are, well, not quite candidates. We have Kevin Young, who is the superintendent of Tonasket Schools, who will speak on the Tonasket levy. We have Doug White, who is the candidate for the 4th Congressional District. And we have those two folks. I don't believe there's anyone else here that's running unopposed. Is there? Who would like to address this body? Okay, hearing no one, then what we will do is the first thing we will do is introduce both of these people. They will come up here and present themselves for 3 minutes. That's all they get, because that's all everybody's going to get is 3 minutes to introduce themselves. And then once they've done that, I will invite the candidates who are running opposed to the podium and to the table here, and they will introduce themselves individually, and then you will submit questions from the audience on some cards, file cards over there. Please put you don't need your name, I don't care about your name, I just want to know who you are addressing the question to. You may address the question to both candidates if you wish, or singularly, however you want to do it. And then we'll collect those cards, and during the evening, if you have other questions, you can submit them. And during the evening, we will ask questions of both candidates or individually, and we will come down the line and rotate back through, so that each candidate will have the ability to answer hopefully several questions. And we will end that part of this at approximately 8:30, or actually at 8:30. And then from there, the candidates will go to their respective tables, and I was hoping the tables were spread out a little more, but they're not. So they'll all be clustered back there, I guess. Or we can take a break and move some tables around a little bit to give more space for people to ask the questions of the individual candidates. So, any questions? Sound fair? We try to be. Okay, so first I'm going to ask Mr. Kevin Young, who is the superintendent of Tonasket Schools, if he would come up here and give us 3 minutes, and I do have a clock, amazing. He'll give us 3 minutes, and he'll tell us about the Tonasket School levy. Mr. Young?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's great to be back in this community. I'm learning a lot. I lived here 35 years ago, and it's great to be back. I see some familiar faces, and it's a great community. It's a diverse community, and I really think the school is a good reflection of the community. The last few years have been tough. I'll be the first to admit that. They've been tough everywhere, but the district's running a replacement levy. This isn't to build a new building. This isn't to put in a new rubberized track. This is to offer everything that the state doesn't pay for, which is athletics, extracurricular activities of all sorts, field trips, music, different things that the state doesn't necessarily feel are important, but I feel they're vital to the educational experience. All of us had a great experience. Well, I will speak for myself. I had a great experience through school, and it wasn't all math and science. That benefited me because I ended up being a math teacher. But the overall experience was so much more than just going to class and getting a good grade. That's definitely what we're striving for. We're trying to improve academics as well, but kids need a well-rounded experience. And without this levy, we honestly can't offer that. So I guess I'm here to ask for your vote. This is the one tax that directly affects all of our students. I had somebody ask me, well, how many students does this impact? 100%. All 1,080 students up on the Hill directly are benefited from this levy. So I'm fairly fiscally conservative. I don't really like to pay taxes. I know a lot of us probably don't, but I would argue this is one tax that's not negotiable. If we want our students to have a positive experience, I want to offer them more opportunities than they currently have. But truthfully, this levy, while we may be able to do that, it's to keep offering what we already offer. I am going to try to add a secondary music program. I've never been in a school that didn't have one. But for the last couple of years, Tonasket hasn't had a secondary music program. I think that's a travesty. If this levy doesn't pass, there's no way I can do that at this point. So, I really just, if you have questions, please reach out to the school district. I'd be happy to sit down with you and answer any questions and talk about it. This is a replacement levy. It's slightly more than the last levy, the same rate, but slightly a higher dollar amount because, as we know, our assessed values are going up. But I do want to mention that the amount we're asking for is the amount we'll collect. So if your property values double, the district doesn't get double the money. It's the same dollar amount no matter what. Thank you very much for having me, and I wish I knew how to time 3 minutes better.
All right, that worked pretty good. I was wondering if that alarm was going to go off. Yeah. Okay, so again, thank you for coming to the Tonasket Community Cultural Center. We do many things here that hopefully improves the community culturally. So our next speaker will be Mr. Doug White, who's running for the 4th Congressional District of Washington State, and that's a federal district. So he'll be possibly going to Washington. So ask him, I'm sorry, you can't ask him any questions. That's right, you're already in Washington. Come on up, give us your introduction.
You got the timer on?
Yeah, what's going on?
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Doug White. I am the Democratic candidate for the 4th Congressional District. I am a 4th-generation farming family. I was raised in Yakima, Washington. I grew up in a union household. My dad, he retired from Hanford as a union pipe fitter. My background's a little bit different. I was a global project manager. I traveled around the world. I implemented multinational technology solutions. And my travels around the world taught me some very important things. One, the importance of America's role in global politics. And it also taught me the importance of America maintaining their leadership role, not only in order to be able to protect our allies and democracy, but also to continue to expand our foreign markets because they are vital to the success of this district. I also learned a lot of skills because I managed big projects. And so I have some pretty good problem-solving skills, and I learned to work with people of very different backgrounds, very different agendas, and it was always my responsibility as a project manager to bring people together, find that common ground, and deliver, of course, on time and under budget. Now, the reason I'm running, there's a couple of big reasons why I'm running, but since I only got 3 minutes, I'm going to limit it to one, and that is, I looked around this district and I saw that we've got the same problems today as we did 50 years ago when I used to help my grandpa in the orchard. He said it was water, immigration, infrastructure, and climate change. He called it weather, but the whims of the farmer, the whims of the weather, it affects us all, right? And so I can't understand why it is that our politicians have had over half a century in order to be able to address these problems. These are vital to our success, these basic problems, and they have done nothing. In addition to these problems continuing to get bigger and put our livelihoods at risk, we've got new problems now. We've got crime in our community, we've got fentanyl deaths, we've got homelessness, we've got two kinds of homelessness. People with money can't even find a home anymore. We've got all these problems that are building up and nobody's paying attention to them. And, you know, we used to do great things. I mean, we're fantastic people. We're visionaries. You know, we built the dams. We brought electricity to our homes, built businesses, good jobs. You know, we built the reservoirs up in the Cascades. We literally watered the desert. And now we have crops that are the envy of the entire world. We built Hanford, stopped a world war, new generation of carbon-free energy production. We're incredible people when we work together. So what's going on wrong? What's going on now? Well, you have to look no further than Congress. Congress right now is just a stalemate right now. People are fighting against each other. Politicians seem to want us to be fighting against each other. Right now, the tail is literally wagging the dog. We're depending on the Supreme Court in order to be able to make decisions about our lives, and that is not the way this government was set up. This government was set up to have an effective functioning Congress in order to be able to pass the legislation that allows us to live our lives fully. I find it unacceptable that the people that live here and work here cannot afford to buy the things that we grow and we make here. And I plan on doing something about it. Now, if I have a little bit of time left, I want to answer the number one question that I get asked every single place I guess you're going to have to ask me later, but thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Okay, so now what I'm going to ask is, will the candidates please come up in the order that you see yourself? So, Jon Neal, Mr. Neal, I apologize profusely for spelling your name John. Maybe you can come up that way, sir, and that way you can come right behind here and get right into place there if you would. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for cooperating. Maybe I should tell a joke. You know, I heard this joke about these two, no? Deb says, no, don't tell that joke. Okay, maybe we won't tell that joke. Okay, so, hey, I read it in the American Legion magazine. I mean, you know. But no, we'll keep this going on because I think it's more important that you hear from the people going to represent you than you do hear from my inane humor. So I'm sorry it's so tight. I promised these folks that they would have an 8-foot table with 2 people at each table. And then I looked at the stage and I went, I'm going to have to do it in 2 layers. How can I do this? So, folks, this is a lesson in civics, and here we are, shoulder to shoulder. And we're going to start with Sheriff Tony Hawley, if you would. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I know you've already been thanked for coming out here, but we really appreciate that. We've been doing this for a little bit now, so a few different communities that we've been in across the summer, and appreciate each time the people that take the time to come out and hear what we have to say and be part of this process to be educated about moving forward. I'm Tony Hawley. I'm the current sheriff for Okanogan County. I've worked for the sheriff's office for just about almost 27 years. Well, just over 27 years. It'll be 28 years in March. And I started in corrections, graduated high school from Okanogan, and joined the Marine Corps, served 4 years in the Marine Corps, and saw several things across the world that made me want to come back home. Told my mom my entire life I was going to move out of here as soon as I could. I did. I saw things. I came home, and I've been home ever since. Made the choice in 1995 to go to work for the Okanogan County Sheriff's Office in the Corrections Division. Worked there for almost 2 years. The patrol side looked like a lot more fun to me, so applied for that. Was hired to that. I've worked there in December will be 26 years. And so I made the choice to serve Okanogan County for my entire career, and that's where I've been. I've served every part of this county, from Mazama up to Chesaw, down Brewster, Cooley Dam, been to every corner of it, dealing with the people from all around this county. So in the last 2012, I was promoted to sergeant. I've been in charge of multiple programs through the sheriff's office, whether it's grant funding or a special response team as a team commander, multiple different things across the county. And the last 4 years as sheriff, I've seen many things change that had not come across the sheriff's office for my career before that. So we had to do a lot of work, sit down, figure out how we were going to do things differently. Started off in 2019, as everybody in this area knows, Tonasket PD was taken away by the mayor at that time, and so we had to start a new law enforcement organization for the city of Tonasket. I've heard great reviews about how we've done up here, and people are very happy with the deputy service and what's going on in the city of Tonasket, to where current negotiations are looking at adding more. It was supposed to be a temporary venture while Tonasket rebuilt. The city council and mayor are pleased with what's going on, so we're looking at making this a long-term venue with the Okanogan County Sheriff's Office, just as we've had with Pateros and Okanogan. So we do quite a bit, not just out in the county, but also serve some of the cities. We are the largest organization in the county as far as for law enforcement. So we have the detectives. We get called on quite a bit when there's a major crime in several different areas, and so we go and help in that. Right now, what we are looking to do is our jail is needing a lot of renovations. It was built in 1984. We just are in the process of a study.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Paul Budrow, thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Budrow, and I'm running to be your next Okanogan County Sheriff. I want to thank you, of course, for us being here. It's an honor to be up here speaking to you. This is, as far as I can tell, our last forum. Yay! I put my name into the hat back in January just to stop the bleed that was going on within the Sheriff's Office. They've lost numerous amounts of officers. And if you followed any of my forums or talks or Facebook posts, I've asked you to go out and reach out to the deputies that have left and or are still there. And so if you haven't, that's where I'm going to say, unless you ask questions in reference to it. I have 38 years of law enforcement experience. 20 years of that as a chief of police in 2 different agencies, both agencies that I had to rebuild. My background is from... started back in 1984 till today, and held pretty much every position you could possibly hold within law enforcement. I have been a traffic reconstructionist. I ran around the country doing a evaluation of police departments, teaching use of force, evaluating police departments for helping write policies, testifying in reference to use of force cases. And the reason why I decided to run again is the fact that the agency's falling, law enforcement is falling within the county, and that we need to have a change. It's time again. 3 years ago, he said that we had COVID, of course, happened. That has gone by the wayside. We still have small amounts of COVID, of course. But we are still not booking people. We have bad guys that are unaccountable for their actions, and it's time to put them back into accountability, let them know that there is ramifications or consequences for their actions, and we'll be back into that. It's time for a change, and again, if you haven't registered, I'm assuming all of you are registered to vote. If you don't know anybody registered, please get them out there, register, and vote for us, or vote for one of us. But again, thank you very much for being out here and getting us to this point where we're actually able to speak to you. So I'm hoping that there's a lot of questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Budrow. So before we do, let's see, we're a little out of I guess we have Joseph Enzensberger. Before we do this, make sure if you have a question, you grab one of those cards out there. Maybe Jackie, you can, if you need a card and you need a pen or something, it's right there. Help yourself. Let's have some good questions for our candidates. Okay, for PUD Commissioner, we have Joseph Enzensberger. Joseph?
Hi everybody, I'm Joseph Enzensberger. I'm a 45-year resident of Okanogan County. I love this county. I did from the minute I drove into it on Highway 20, coming from the east. This is the place where I've lived. This is the place I care about. This is the community that I feel a part of. I've been a residential plumber for 40 years, and I've enjoyed serving my community in that capacity. I'm running for this office because I feel there's a real need in this time to change the way we produce electricity. We need to be not only consumers of electricity, but also producers of electricity and conservers of electricity. There's many, many new technologies that are available to us now to save electricity through energy efficiency. Efficient heat pumps that will warm and cool our houses for half the price of the old baseboards that many of our homes were built with. And this is going to produce a surplus of energy that we can use within the district for other important and vitally needed things. So I'm all about energy conservation. I think we need more programs to make our houses efficient. And I'm also excited about the possibilities of making our houses powerhouses with the right application of solar energy. Solar energy on the right rooftop can make you produce as much power as you consume, and this will be an advantage to the utility. It'll produce sustainability and reliable additional power that we don't have currently. It's also real that our planet is changing, and we need to take steps to reduce our carbon footprint. We need to produce energy that's not dependent on fossil fuels. And I think it's a vital time for the survival of our species and our planet, and it's important that we move in this new exciting direction. I just took a class this spring from Portland State University called the Smart Grid and Sustainable Communities. And it's my goal to make Okanogan County a sustainable community with good energy production, clean and efficient use of our resources, and a protection and love for our natural environment. Places that keep us here, the mountains we like to go to, the streams we like to fish in, the lakes that we love. This is what I want to produce, a cherished and guarded environment in which we can all live and grow. And this new opportunity will produce jobs also for the next generation of contractors and doers who want to make these changes in the way we live. So I hope you'll consider my ideas. I want to be a real representative of the people. I want to be available. I want to answer questions. I plan to be in my office at the PUD at least several days a week to do the research necessary to bring this important resources that are currently available, federal grant money, to help us put in these heat pumps and solar systems. I want to bring it to our county. I want to make it available to our residents. And that's why I'm running for Okanogan County PUD. I hope you'll consider voting for Joseph Enzensberger between now and November 8th. Thank you.
Good job, Joseph. You're right on time. And now we'll hear from his opponent, Mr. Jerry D. Asmussen. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you to the Cultural Center for having us tonight. As it said, I'm Jerry Asmussen. I'm an auctioneer and a rancher from right here in Tonasket. I've been married for 39 years to my wife, Anita. And I have 2 degrees from Washington State University, one in agriculture economics and one in animal science. I am the current PUD Commissioner representing District 3. This is the end of my first term, and I also have served in the past as a school board member for Tonasket School District for 20 years, dedicating the service to the kids and the community. I also serve on the Okanogan Conservation District Board, a position appointed by the Washington State Conservation Commission, and on the Hamilton Youth Foundation Board, where we use business money to support the youth of Okanogan County. As a commissioner, I focus on reliable, reasonably cost power and broadband, because we're in both businesses. Some of the accomplishments I think we've achieved is, while I've been in office, we have increased our reliability by replacing a large number of transformers. You'll see the work going on at the Tonasket substation, which is the last of the major transformers to be replaced. All of our system was built about the same time, and it's all wearing out about the same time. The broadband is a more complex issue. It's very expensive to build out, and it's done mostly through grants. And so sometimes it's frustrating to make sure that we can push these services out to those people in our service area that aren't served at all. Some people think that they need better service. I think the people that don't have service are the ones that we should be focusing on. Also, as a board member of the school district, I was trained extensively with policy board governance, which is just the structure of the PUD, where we produce policy, and our main point of contact with the organization is our general manager. So I have experience in hiring and reviewing those chief executives. So for these reasons, I would really like you to vote for me. And if you have any questions, talk to me anytime, phone, email, or on the street. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're moving on to Jeannie Hughes, who is running for coroner.
Hi. Yeah.
Thank you to the
Yeah.
Tonasket Community Cultural Center and to everyone that is here for coming out and listening to us and asking your questions and getting more informed. Is it not on? Okay, this one's on. So again, thank you for everybody for being here and for coming out and asking questions and being informed as to the candidates that you'll be voting for. My name is Rogine Hughes. I do go by Jeannie, and I am running for Okanogan County Coroner. I am very dedicated to being a coroner. I have been a deputy coroner in Ferry County for the last 20 years. A volunteer deputy coroner. I have done it with no pay. I am the 9th child out of 10. There are 7 of us still living. I have had death in my family with 3 siblings, 2 parents, and my first husband passing away from Gulf War syndrome. So I have experienced a lot of grief and a lot of hardship. I know what it's like to be on the family side. I know what it's like to be on the coroner side. And I take comfort in being able to help families to get through this difficult time in their lives. When they lose a loved one, it is not easy for any family. And you need to have somebody that's caring and compassionate and understanding to be by your side to help you get through that. I do have all of those qualities. And so I ask that you vote for me between now and November 8th for coroner of Okanogan County. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have Mr. David Rodriguez, who is running against Jeannie. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you.
Okanogan County has been my home for 33 years. I've raised a family here, and I've served you, the citizens of this county, as an EMT, as a law enforcement officer, and now for the past 8 years as your coroner. We've been through a lot in the last 8 years. We've had just terrible wildfires with accompanying loss of life. We've had this whole COVID situation happening that we've muddled through, and we're still dealing with an opioid crisis that's not affecting not only our county but the whole nation. But we've been pulling through this. We've been working together, and some of my partners that have assisted me with my job as the coroner are here in this room, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to stand up, including you guys, if you are or were a law enforcement officer. If you, at the end, I got a bunch of people who are going to stand. If you are or were a nurse or in the medical field. Search and rescue people, I've spotted a few in here. Service personnel. Firefighters, wildland fires, and structural firefighters. We have some of those. So I just wanted to thank those people. You can sit now, thank you. Because I wouldn't have been able to do my job for 8 years. I'm the only person working in the office. I have a couple of standby helpers, but without these folks, I wouldn't be able to do my job. And what I bring to the job is, first of all, I have 25 years in law enforcement, and I know how to do an investigation. I also have 13 years as an advanced EMT in emergency medicine, but I do bring a measure of my quality of professionalism, compassion, and a very strong level of ethics. Now, I want to say that it's been mentioned a few times that it's time for me to retire, and you may even hear that again tonight, but during the primary, the voters of Okanogan County spoke very loudly that they wanted more of an option at the office of coroner. And in unprecedented numbers, they wrote me in. So you will see me on the ballots that are coming out today or tomorrow, so they're going to show up in your mailbox soon. You're going to see me as a person running for the Okanogan County coroner position to re-elect me. So I want to thank you for not only your support so far, the people that I recognize who support me every day, but I want to ask for your vote on when your ballots come in. Thank you. This works pretty good.
So again, we're going around with these cards. Please put your questions for either candidate. And I would ask that if you please make note of who you would like the question asked to. I have a few questions here that are, I'm not sure who to ask the question to. So if you could be a little specific as to sheriff, coroner, etc., PUD. Okay. And now we have Mr. Lloyd Caton Jr., who is here as a North County Commissioner candidate.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lloyd Caton Jr., and I'm a candidate for County Commissioner District 3. I'm a fourth generation of 6 generations of my family here in the Tonasket area. We've been here a really long time. Makes Okanogan very near and dear to me. It's where my family grew up and my grandchildren are growing up, and this county is, in my opinion, a little piece of God's country up here. I've served this community in numerous ways over the years, starting out in 4-H and FFA when I was a kid. When I got out of high school, I came home and became a member of the Tonasket Community Rodeo Club, and I've been there for 40-some years, and over the 40 years I've been president, 20+, and you've seen us put on rodeos, demolition derbies, and tractor pulls, and all kinds of things out there. Then I stepped my service up a bit. I became a member of the Okanogan County Fair Board. I served on the Fair Board for, 15, 16 years, and I worked with people all over the county to put on the fair down there in Okanogan, which I think is probably the premier event of the county. If you sit at the fairgrounds long enough, you will see everybody you know. If you sit there all day in a chair long enough, you'll see them. Then I stepped up my game a little bit more, and I became a school board member. I served 12 years on the Tonasket School Board, and I only served 12 years because I'm a term limits guy. I believe in 2 or 3 terms, and it's time for somebody else. So after 3 terms, I decided it was time to do something different. And one thing I'm extremely proud of on the school board is that during my tenure on the board, we started a movement where I started in our boardroom, and it went clear to the legislature. And now the Office of Superintendent of Public Construction is no longer able to deduct timber dollars from your basic education money. And that started right here in Tonasket, and we took it clear to Olympia and was finally successful. It took 5 or 6 years. As your county commissioner, I'm going to be fiscally conservative, morally conservative. I'm First and Second Amendment guy, along with the other 8 that make up your Bill of Rights. The Constitution is pretty important to me. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-business, I'm pro-people, I'm pro-rights. And as our world is changing, and we have pandemics and things happening, sometimes I see some of our rights are assaulted a bit. And as county commissioner, I'll do the best I can and negotiate and advocate for your rights that they aren't trampled on too much. The ballots come out tomorrow. The big day is November 8th. I encourage everyone here to vote. Pick the best candidate, the person that you like the best. Do a little research, find out what we all stand for. And then mark your ballots tomorrow, or within the next week or so. Get them in on time. Please vote for me on November 8th. I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you, sir. And now, Mr. Jon Neal, County Commissioner. Jon. N-E-A-L. Oh, sorry. This is nonpartisan. I've already overstepped my bounds.
As he said, my name is Jon Neal, and I would like to thank all of you for showing up here, spending...
Sorry.
Okay, do I start over?
Yes.
Yeah. My name is Jon Neal, and I am running for Okanogan County Commissioner number 3. And I would like to thank all you for coming out, spending your time to listen to us, whatever we have to say. Yeah. I also am a lifelong member or a resident of Okanogan County, 3rd generation on both sides. I've been married to my wife for 35 years. Been part of public service for over 2 decades with municipal government, 15 years on the fire department. I've dealt with multi-million-dollar budgets for the last 20 plus years on multiple levels. Also part of the Triangle Board, which is the public transportation for Okanogan County. That also is a multi-million-dollar budget, which we are just going through right now. I love budget time. What's that? Yeah, I was being facetious. Yeah. I too have spent years in public service on multiple levels, whether it be municipal government, fire department, just community service, whatever it may be. If there's a need, I typically step up and do it. You can ask my wife, but sometimes I don't say no when I should, but here we are. I too am fiscally responsible. I don't know if conservative is the right word. You have a certain pot of money, you try to deal with that the best you can. The county, Okanogan County is the largest county in the state by far. Unfortunately, our coffers are not as big as many of the counties. So we struggle in many levels. But one of my main concerns is public safety, whether that be Sheriff's Department, EMS, fire. I mean, even our public roads are a big part of public safety. We have over 10,000 miles of public roads in Okanogan County. So that is a big challenge for the county, even the state, and our local communities to maintain those roads. I mean, even with paving, but maintaining them during the winter and all that. I think the key to Okanogan County is having the right employees that are dedicated to their jobs, make sure they're happy with their jobs so they do the jobs that they need to do at every level. I mean, we are shorthanded, I think, on almost every department in the county. And we really need to strive to make that a better situation so the individuals that are working aren't overworked. Everybody has a happier work environment, and I'm sure Dave can say that. I know Tony can. We're all in the same boat. We're all part of one county. So thank you very much.
Okay. Now, the next part of this program is we're going to ask your questions to the candidates. We will ask the candidates the question, and they will each have 3 minutes to speak on this question. And then we'll go to the next candidates. If there are questions for them, we will then ask them one question. They will each have 3 minutes, etc., and we'll go on down the line, then we'll go back to the beginning. I have many questions. Thank you very much. Some of these are really sharp, intelligent questions, but I look forward to hearing the answers to from these folks. So, first, oh, good, here's some more. All right. Okay, so, now we're going to just do this. This part of the program goes until 8:30. Okay, and we're about 6:45 now, so we've got plenty of time. Keep the questions coming. Okay, and also I would add that there's coffee and tea over there if you get bored. Go over and have a cup of coffee or tea and wake up. And maybe a piece of cake that Christy made over there is pretty good. All right, so to Paul Budrow and Mr. Tony Hawley, what kind of charities do you support or participate in? 3 minutes, Mr. Hawley.
So there's several things that I participate in as far as directly to charities. I've donated to several charities. Special Olympics, Toys for Tots, donation for the Marine Corps. I am a member of the VFW out of Okanogan, member of the Elks, member of the Eagles. So there's several entities that I'm involved with that that donate to charities. Also, as the Sheriff's Office, we have a Shop with the Cop program that helps out our youth in this area. Have been involved with the Orville Shop with the Cop when they put that on, go up and help them for the kids to come up and have interaction with the kids in our community specifically, so that they can have some interaction with law enforcement and not be afraid to come talk to us and understand that we are people too. We have families. That's what we do. What we do for a job doesn't always identify us as a person. So they also need to be able to have conversation with us and feel comfortable when we go talk with them. Been a blood donor for American Red Cross since I was 18. I think I've got a 5-gallon pin someplace. So they've poked me quite a few times as far as to help out somebody. I don't even know who that is. On the registry as a donor for bone marrow, if that were to come about. Just some of those things, I mean, there are some intangibles, I guess, not actively doing it, but ready and willing to help anybody at any point in time. Lots of times we just are out here doing things. There was floods in 2018. Wasn't my neighborhood, grabbed my equipment, went down and helped people that just to try to protect their homes. With my equipment, my fuel, expected nothing for it, except for to help protect my neighbors' investments so that they can have a home to come to when the water subsided. So that was just some of those things we do in my off time. I was a volunteer firefighter when I lived in District 8. Don't really have the time to do that right now. One of the areas that I volunteer in, because it is hard to have the time with law enforcement to go, I am a school board director as well, so we deal with the kids in those areas. Been the school board director for Okanogan for the last 7 years. I'm in my second term with that, as well as being the sheriff. So there's lots of different things where I keep myself involved, doing many things throughout the community, especially for Okanogan.
For charity-wise, it's mainly whichever charity is around that needs help, we'll be there to help them. I have been involved with the Children's Miracle, a lot of Cancer Society type stuff, the animal control, animal rights, lots of those. No Paws Left Behind, we support a lot of those agencies. We donate to that as a family. It's semi-difficult in the fact that I have 12 kids, so I have a lot of, there's not much money that can go out of the door, but there's a lot of love and support that my family and I do for a lot of the charities. We'll do Shop with the Cop, we do that as the agency, and numerous other charities. If they need help, we're there, and all they have to ask, and we'll be working with them.
Okay, so now I have, it's kind of interesting because I don't have a question that's to both PUD commissioners, potential commissioners. Here's one that is. And it's a true or false, so I don't know how you guys want to handle this, but I'm going to give it to you. They know how to talk. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. You take as much as you want. PUD. The internet has many memes that purport that power capacity of our homes and neighborhoods would be overwhelmed by widespread adaptation of electric vehicles. Do you find this is true or false? Joseph?
That's a good question. Electric vehicles will consume some electricity. That's what they're all about. But the electricity that they consume is much more affordable than the energy you expend to buy the gasoline for your automobile. And when we are saving energy through efficiency, we're going to have extra energy to charge those electric vehicles. We export $60 million a year to big oil through the purchase of gas and oil here in Okanogan County, $60 million. And once you have attained an electric vehicle, you can charge that vehicle to travel 100 miles for about $2.50 worth of electricity. If you have a solar panel on your house, you're also producing a surplus of electricity that you can also apply to the charging of that vehicle. And if you think about $2.50 to go 100 miles with electric energy, which goes to support the PUD and stays in Okanogan County, versus $25 to go 100 miles in your gasoline vehicle, which is all money exported out of the county, you're going to have money left over in your pocket to spend in the local economy and the Main Street businesses and the services and within our local community. So I think electric vehicles are smart. They're coming. It's still in the future. All the bugs haven't been worked out, but they are being worked out. And the reason is we need to reduce that carbon footprint. We need to reduce the amount of hydrogen in our atmosphere so that we have weather events that we can handle, that are not catastrophic, that we avoid the problems of drought and flood and these kind of issues. So it's a futuristic vision of how we power ourselves. I think the big trucks will be around for a long time and they'll still be doing all the hard work out on the farm. But for moms and people commuting to and from work, to drive a smart electric vehicle that you plug in at home and charge overnight and then drive, the next day. It's a tremendous resource. Right now in the Northwest, it's the second biggest producer of power after hydroelectric power. Just since the Power Act of the late 80s, the Northwest Power Bill, we have conserved enough electricity each year to equal the output of 3 Grand Coulee dams annually. Enough power saved annually to light 7 cities of Seattle. And that's from energy efficiency, efficient motors, efficient lighting, efficient heating and cooling. So there's a tremendous resource there. I don't think we need to fear running out of electricity. We have the mighty Columbia here with all of its hydroelectric power as a resource. We have the sun and the new technology that solar panels can provide. And these will be our new sources of power. I think the cars are still too expensive. They're too expensive for myself personally, and I know many other people here. But as these cars become available, as used cars become available, we'll have solutions and we'll have options, and I think electric vehicles make a lot of sense.
Okay. As we adapt more and more electric vehicles, it is going to add load to our system. Our engineers are currently assessing what a 10% to 100% penetration in the EV market will have on our local electrical load. The EV, if you're plugging it in at home, takes about as much energy as your refrigerator, which on a home-by-home basis, that's not a lot. But if you've got a system out there, and it's a radio system, and now you have 400 on a line, you have to make some infrastructure changes. So these are things, adaptation is going to come, but as a PUD Commissioner, we're going to have to look at those things that affect the cost and reliability of our service, and so we can meet the needs of our customers. Thank you.
So, now for the coroners, the question is, do you think it should be of concern to the voters if a candidate has been served in a lawsuit involving the taking of a deceased vehicle, ashes, assets, and possessions. Please explain your answer. First, Jeannie.
First off, everybody is involved at some point in their life, probably with a lawsuit. And anybody can bring a lawsuit against anybody for any reason. It does not mean that there is any justification behind that lawsuit. So I do not necessarily believe it is something that needs to be a concern to the voters. It is a private matter with two individuals. It is I want to say this nicely. As most of you probably know, I have been accused of many things that are not true. And my opponent and his people are running a smear campaign against me to get him elected. I do not wish to do that. I do not wish to engage in that. And so for that reason, that's going to be the end of my question. I am a positive person. I do not do negative. And that's the way I am. And so that's the way I will be.
Mr. Rodriguez?
This is a delicate question that's been asked. First of all, I'd like to say that I am not running a smear campaign. In fact, what I have done through my campaign so far, and what I'll continue to do tonight and for the next 3 weeks, is ask you to focus on my accomplishments. I have not brought up this topic tonight or ever. I just merely ask that every time this ever comes up, I say, I want to be elected as your coroner, which I am now, but again, based on my record and what you know about me. Ms. Hughes has some things to deal with, and I'm just going to leave it up to her to answer that or not answer it. But to me, I want you, if you mark my name on your ballot, I'm asking you to mark it for me, not against her. It's the way I've chosen to run my campaign, and I feel for you. And I know it's a question that has come up and will continue to come up. But if you can, when you're looking at the ballot and it comes in the mail and you see our names, make a decision in your mind. Do you want me? Based on what I've done as a coroner for 8 years. And that's it. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I'm asking.
Guess I better use the handrail from now on. Safety belt, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so now I have two questions, one to Lloyd Caton and one to Jon Neal. So I'm going to ask the question of Mr. Caton, and it's specifically to him, so I won't ask Mr. Neal to respond to the question unless he wants to. Yes. Okay. Mr. Caton, you have mentioned you have a short-term deficit. How will you compensate for your deficit? 3 minutes, please.
I missed the whole thing. I don't know.
Is there a deficit in the county, sir?
I don't know.
Talking about turbulence,
budgeting now.
Okay. Perhaps I'll give you another question. Let's give this to Mr. Neal. How about you folks? Does that sound correct? Sure. Okay. So Mr. Neal, here's your question. What have you done to increase your knowledge of Okanogan County and its issues. And Mr. Caton will be back to you.
What have I done to increase my knowledge? I have been periodically watching county commissioner meetings online. I've conversed with both county commissioners, Mr. Branch and Mr. Hover, on numerous issues. I'm on 4 different county boards already, so I have the opportunity to have conversations with both of them frequently. Also the chairman of OCOG, which is the Council of Governments for the entire county, which has, I think, a representative member from each community, from virtually every community in the county. So I think I'm fairly well versed on what is going on in the county. I read the papers, I listen to the radio. I do what most people can do. I search online. I have searched numerous items recently when people come up with specific issues to question me about. So I think I've done my due diligence. There are certain things that even I'm not privy to at this point with the county, that there are in negotiations on certain things. So people have asked me questions and I can't give them a specific final answer. But most of the questions I've been asked, I can give them an answer after I do the research, whether that be just talking to people or actually conversing with the current county commissioners. Thank you.
Mr. Caton, again, I apologize for, I guess I didn't put enough thought into the question itself, and if it made sense. What does being pro-life have to do with the office of county commissioner?
Well, it's pretty simple. If you guys are going to vote for me, you need to know how I think. And that's the reason, I'm pro-constitution, pro-life, pro-business. It's not a badge that I'm trying to wear or throw out there, but as I make decisions that affect every citizen sitting right out here, and every citizen in the whole county of Okanogan, 40-some thousand plus citizens, I tell you what I think and what I believe in, so you know what box I'm reaching into to make my decisions. Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Technology. I call it tech, no logic. Anyway, okay, so this one seems like it could go to each one of the people on this here. So I'm going to ask you all to simply answer this question if you can. I hope you win this election. Nice, right? But if you should lose, are you going to claim that this election was stolen, as in the past others have claimed? Mr. Hawley, 3 minutes if you need. I beg your pardon. Yeah, let me try it.
Oh, you start this one.
Oh, start this end and work your way back. Sure, why not? Okay, Mr. Jon Neal.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to lose, but if by chance I do, no, I think Okanogan County has the protocols in place to make sure this is a fair election, and I will live with whatever decision you all make.
Not a lot to add to that. Isn't that what you do nowadays? If you lose, you scream foul and file lawsuits and bother everybody for months. But that's not what I'll do. However this election turns out, it's a done deal, and congratulations to you, or congratulations to me, and it'll be what it is. Thank you.
If you know our auditor, Carrie Hall, we wouldn't even have this question. She is very good at her job. She's very transparent. You can go down there and sit and watch the whole process. She has cameras all through the auditor's office that is over the shoulder of everybody who's ever doing anything there. So don't pick your nose if you go in the room. She's just top shelf, and I don't have any reservations about how she does her job. So if the results show that I am not successful, I would accept that.
So are you just going to concede now? No, and I actually find this question rather interesting because I have been asked personally this question several times in the last couple of weeks. No, I do not plan on filing any lawsuits, do not plan on complaining, although I am going to win, and you know, I might even have a position for Mr. Rodriguez in the Met How if he wants to continue on as a deputy coroner for me. You know, we might be able to arrange that. So to answer the question, no, there will not be an issue.
The simple answer here is no. This is Okanogan County, and I think we've learned how to get along together, and these type of issues are more of a national issue than right here at home.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with trusting the voting system across the United States. I have complete confidence in the fairness of the vote. I think all of our election officials across the country do a really diligent job and try their very best to produce an honest result. I have no problem accepting the outcome of this election.
Well, Dave stole all the thunder. Carrie is phenomenal. We've been able to follow her throughout the system, and it doesn't matter. She is the most transparent we have, and as far as I'm concerned, in the state. So we're very lucky to have her.
And Dave did steal my answer as well. I was going to give all the kudos to Carrie on that because we have an amazing auditor, and not just the voting. She is a partner in everything that goes on in the county. If we have any questions that go on about if we can do something with budgets, buying something out of fund, wherever that is, she's a go-to person for us at the sheriff's office to call down and know that we're going to get the right answer. We're not going to have any issue. We may not like the answer, but she has no problem giving us the right answer, and she will give the right answer to the commissioners. And you can watch any of the meetings when she's there, those things happen. And that's how she runs her office. So our voting in Okanogan County is secure. It will be, I'll be very happy when you all do vote for me and I win. And Carrie will do a phenomenal job, her and her staff. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. None of you went over 3 minutes, almost. We did it in like less than 5, so that was good. So let me set this thing again. Stop it, clear it. So now since the mic is down at that end of the table, this is the next question for the sheriff's candidates. Given the new law that addresses the carrying of weapons at demonstrations, and it says RCW 9.41.300, and specifically referring to Section 2B of that law, how would you approach advising people that they are not allowed to open carry weapons at an approved demonstration? To both of you folks, thank you.
So I have very little of the RCW memorized. This is the thing that we normally research. So the law, I believe that you're referring to, is the one that talks about parading military organizations. I believe that's what's being referenced in that, which goes back to the demonstrations, the march that occurred in 2020 with a lot of unrest that took place. The way I deal with it is I go talk to the people. As has been stated, I am a very strong supporter of both the Second Amendment and the Washington State Constitution that allows people to have their rights to carry, possess firearms, as long as they have not done something in their life to be precluded from having those things. If somebody is merely standing there with the firearm, in the research that I did at that time, that law has not been tested. It's been passed by the legislature, and we've had several laws throughout the years. We just had this with the Blake decision that stood for a lot of years, and now we're dealing with how do we undo what was done. So I don't want to be in the position to start that. That law has never been tested. It was passed, It is being read and applied to something through a lens that maybe fits somebody's agenda, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure we have public safety, and that's what I did through that issue, was to talk with both sides, make sure that they understood what each side was doing, with the leadership of each group, and then reach out to all the law enforcement I could possibly get to come down and kind of stay behind the scenes. Most people didn't see the law enforcement was there. I was even contacted by the former sheriff that said, "Where'd you have people?" He was trying to find them. He couldn't find where people were staged. And then I told him where they were at. And he was like, "Well, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you have them there?" So we did this to keep them out of sight, but ready to react and not institute a riot. And we did that successfully. So I would approach it the same exact way. Talk with the people going, make sure they understand you cannot do something that's going to assault somebody. And if anybody does anything that is an actual overt assault towards somebody, a threat, an action that I can act on, then we would deal with that situation. But in that situation, if you were to go to try to disarm people for that, I think we would be the ones causing the problem. And that would have escalated into a huge problem for us, that we don't have enough law enforcement with the amount of people there to handle that. So we had to handle it diplomatically through our reaching out and talking with people so they understood what the ground rules were and how to deal with things. And that includes talking with the people that were marching. If there was a problem, how are you going to get your people out of there safely? Those are conversations that I had through that to make sure that they understood, because these were some kids that had a great idea, but they didn't understand how they get their people out that came to this march safely if something went bad. So I had those discussions with them so they knew, where are your rally points? Where is your point of no return? Where are some things that they've never dealt with, so they know that they can get their people out safely should there be a problem. And thankfully we didn't have one. Thank you.
Okay, well, so the law that we're talking about was passed after the incident that we had in Omak with the parade. What the law actually is if somebody applies and gets a permit to do a protest and wants to do a parade, and the town decides to give them that, which is their right to do, then we're supposed to say nobody's allowed to carry, open carry, along the sides of that, that function. Again, we as sheriffs, okay, if it was today, I would have to follow that law because I'm a chief of police. I am not allowed to question your civil right, okay, or your right to carry or not carry. As a sheriff, I would then be able to say, no, that's not, we're not going to enforce that law. That is a constitutional right to have open carry. So what we'll do is we will then push that to the next level. Would I take that on? Yes, I will. As the sheriff, my job is to protect all of your constitutional rights, and that is one of those constitutional rights, your right to carry and bear arms. We are a right to carry state. Our constitution, our state constitution is much stronger than the United States Constitution. And so what that is I would do the same thing. We would communicate with both parties. What I do is I communicate now with the people who carry their guns, etc., who are at these parades. And what we need to tell them is you're allowed to open carry. That means one in the holster, that's fine. If you had carried a firearm, it better be on a sling, because if you're carrying it with your hands, we have a law, which is what we need to start doing, is enforcing the laws that are already written. One of those laws is if I'm carrying the rifle, I'm holding it side by side, and my rifle is pointing towards Tony's head. Do you think Tony's going to stand there and let me do that? No. The law says if I'm doing anything that's causing threat to somebody else, then that's a violation of law. I will then go contact that person, and we'll have all these discussions prior to any of this happening, and I would take that person's firearm away from him. We would then put it in safekeeping, let them come get it at a later date. More likely than not, I'm protecting him from punching me, okay? Because if a gun's pointed at his head, Tony being a Marine in the service, going through firearms, myself, that's all we ever do. We know safety rules. That's my number one thing that I teach, is all the safety rules. Right now, I'm teaching Hunter's Ed. I'm missing a Hunter's Ed class that I teach over in the Met House, and we're teaching that right now. That is one of the things that I push very, very strongly. Know where your barrel is at all times. So no, it would not be enforced.
Okay, coming on to the PUD again. this is directed to Joseph and Enzensberger, and I would say that, well, my time's up. I would say that, Jerry, if you wanted to respond to this, I think that it's probably a good thing. It says, Joseph, who would you work with while pursuing the removal of the Enloe Dam? And along with that, how would this affect communities downstream? 3 minutes.
That's a good question. Enloe Dam, as you all know, has been a subject of controversy for many years. I've written about it quite a bit in the paper. And there's a tremendous interest right now, many interested parties to work for the removal of Enloe Dam. 2020, there was extensive sediment studies done by the U.S. Geological Survey, followed up by a study by the Washington State Department of Ecology concerning the sediments behind the dam. We are in a historic mining district, and people were concerned that there was toxic metals in the sediment. Well, those studies have been done, and yes, there is a presence of heavy metals. There's arsenic, cadmium, lead, copper, silver, all present, bound to the sediments behind Enloe Dam. The people that are working to remove the structure are very concerned about those sediments too. They're biologists, they're fish people, and they want the dam to be removed in a safe, environmentally sound manner. And those sediments, with those metals attached, would be dredged from the river. Before the dam was ever removed, those sediments would be removed. And they constitute the last third of the sediments in the reservoir. The upper stream portions are mostly sand and cobble, gravels, that are all part of a natural river system, and they would be allowed to move downstream naturally over time when the dam was removed. We're talking about working with agencies, federal agencies, National Marine Fisheries Service, NOAA. There's $100 million set aside for the removal of derelict dams on public lands. This is a derelict dam on public land. It's owned by the PUD. It has not produced a kilowatt of electricity since 1958. And even when a state-of-the-art powerhouse was designed, the amount of power that could be produced from a 54-foot high head of water was so small that it couldn't pay the cost of operations to run the powerhouse. It was coming in at over $100 million, and the PUD board themselves, Jerry himself included, with recommendations from the staff, said, this project is not economically viable. So if it's not an economically viable producer of electricity, then we don't need to keep it on the river because it's a constant liability to the utility. It requires constant dam safety inspections and maintenance. Just in the last 2 years, we spent $8 million to dry face the dam so that we could look at it, and they found out it's a pretty solid structure. But that's not the point. The point is, it's blocking an iconic fish species of the Upper Columbia Basin, Upper Columbia River steelhead. Salmon, for the most part, do not get above the natural barrier of Smilkameen Falls, but Upper Columbia River steelhead, the most athletic anadromous fish we have in the Pacific Northwest, surely would. Their home is the Upper Smilkameen. It's a native rainbow red side that goes to the ocean. Not only once, can go to the ocean as many as 3 times in a lifetime. And when they come back upriver, they're not spawning and dying. They're moving back into their ancestral waters to spawn and live and then return downstream. There's a habitat for 100,000 adult steelhead above the Smilkameen, and it would provide economic viability for our Okanogan County communities. That's why I think it's important to restore the Smilkameen River, provide these economic opportunities for recreation, and bring tourist dollars to our area.
As Joseph said, our dam is a legacy facility that has been with us for a long time and is currently non-performing as an asset. So what we at the PUD have engaged is an outside entity presented us with a memorandum. It was written by Richard Roos Collins, who is legally working with the removal of the Klamath Falls Dam, Klamath River dams, and this outlines a project and a process of if an outside entity wants to remove that dam and what they need to do to protect the ratepayers of the PUD from the liability and the cost of that endeavor. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I have another question for the coroners, and it says, and this is directed to both of you folks, how dedicated are you to the coroner's position? You as a coroner, how dedicated are you to this position? Jeannie?
Like I said in my opening statement, I have been a volunteer deputy coroner in Berry County for 20 years. That's how dedicated I am. I have been doing this job for no pay for 20 years. I am dedicated to helping people and serving the community. I have lived in Okanogan County for about 18 years now and have decided it's time to serve the people of Okanogan County. When Mr. Rodriguez had decided he was going to retire and did not file in time, I decided it was time for me to file and serve the people of Okanogan County. This is my community. This is the community I love. This is the community I'm going to be living in for a lot of years left. And so this is where I want to be serving, is over here. And so I am very dedicated and very committed to serving. I do serve in a lot of other capacities in Okanogan. I help out with the Tonasket youth cheerleaders. I am their cheer grandma, an honor I hold highly. And I am an Eagles member, a Legion member, auxiliary members. I participate in this community, and this is the community I love and I want to serve. Thank you.
How dedicated are we to being coroners? Most of my adult working life has been here in Okanogan County. I highlighted that at my opening about how I first arrived here and was a volunteer EMT. I was also a reserve deputy with the sheriff's office before being hired full-time. And then 25 years of serving you as a deputy. My whole life has been here. And once I retired from the sheriff's office, how else can I be of service to the county? And curiously enough, I have the mixture of medical knowledge, investigative knowledge, that fit perfect for this job. So I ran for coroner, and as the first coroner here in the county, and you elected me. And I've now been doing that for 8 years, and I have to say it's been my life. It's a very consuming job. You're on call 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You have to be ready to go at all times. I'm the only paid employee for the coroner's office right now. So I feel not only am I a dedicated coroner, but I'm dedicated to you as Okanogan County citizens.
Okay, to county commissioner candidates. Rural Washington has often been ignored by the Democratic policymakers. Do you have a plan to increase our political voice? Mr. Caton.
Well, I guess my plan to increase the political voice of the rural people of Okanogan County, and not just Okanogan County, but the state, is to listen, to advocate, to find out what they're interested in, what's troubling, what's bothering them, what can I do to help change that. We had a question the other night up at TWISP about the different cultures in the county, and we have many different cultures, and many parts of our county, in my opinion, are underrepresented. And it's not just rural, it's Hispanic, it's the Indian people or the natives, and as county commissioner, we have to listen to all of them. We have to find out what your concerns are, what your needs are, and then we can advocate for you and listen and push forth your ideas and needs and see what we can do to get those things accomplished for you and help you become more involved in accomplishing the things you need for your group.
Unfortunately, I pretty much agree with Lloyd. It is a matter of involvement. All of you need to be involved to make things happen in your communities. It's not just up to the county commissioners or the sheriff's department or whoever. If you want change and you want to have your voice heard, you all need to speak up. It is one of those things that I would lobby with our legislature on the issues that demand that, but there's so many small issues that our area is ignored about that it's up to you guys at a lot of times to step up, make your voices heard. And sometimes that's just to be made your voices heard to us as county commissioners or your mayors or your sheriff's department or whoever it may be. Because there's a lot of issues out there that we are totally unaware of. We all live in our little circles, in our little areas of the county that sometimes don't mingle with the others. So make your voices heard. Be that person. Like they always say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It takes a lot of squeaky wheels a lot of time to get things done, but I see a lot of squeaky wheels out there. Thank you.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Okay. Wait a minute, take a break. Keep going. Break. Break. Okay, let's have a 15-minute break. We'll resume at 20 minutes to the hour. I'm going to start again with the sheriff position. Let's see here.
Buffalo, just sure. I apologize, everybody. I have a very serious issue I have to go deal with. I hate to cut this short, but I am needed elsewhere with something that's going on right now. So thank you again for coming out, but I must go. So sorry. If you do have any further questions, don't
Okay, well, we know how that goes. When you're in service, you're in service. So there it is. So, yeah. So I guess what I do is the ones that are directed directly at Mr. Hawley, we'll have to put aside. And, okay. So we'll ask you, Mr. Budrow, what kind of crime and jail prevention programs do you propose?
The jail program is going to be our number one, which will then, of course, lead into the jail or the crime prevention. We need to, again, get more bodies into the jail, as in when they have a warrant or they commit a crime. We're going to have programs that allow us to what we call book and release. And if I have somebody on a warrant, you hear it every day out there right now. If you have a scanner, you hear it. There's a subject has multiple felony warrants, and they say, well, the jail's not going to accept. That, of course, will not happen any longer. That's against the law. It's a violation of a court order. And what we'll do on the felony stuff, we'll, of course, have talked to the judges, because the only person who can release a felony warrant is the judge who signed it. The actual judge who signed that is the only one to say, no, don't worry about picking that one up. So we'll have discussions in reference to that with the judges. The misdemeanor warrants, what we can do is we can book and release them, i.e. we contact them out there in the street. We take a form. Again, this is something, I should just say this is living history. I did this back in the 90s. That's one of my benefits of being old and have done this job numerous years behind me. It's something that has happened again back in the 90s as we went through all this. So this isn't new, but it is lawsuit and speedy trial problems that this is causing by not accepting these warrants and doing our due diligence to serve them as we're sworn our oaths to do. The fact that their jail is falling apart, etc., does not give them the ability to negate law. And that's one of the things that I will not do is negate law. We'll have a communication with the commissioners in reference to how to circumvent that, but we will get it done. Whether we have to contract with other agencies to put our long-term in their jails, but our bad guys are going to start learning that there are consequences to their actions and be held responsible for those actions. The other side of that is if they commit a new crime, we don't have space in the jail to take care of a new crime. What we will do, though, is we'll do what we call a book release on that form, and that is we'll bring them to the jail proper. If we can, we're going to work on trying to get what we call live scan. Live scan is the electronic fingerprinting program, and we'll station that throughout the county so that when somebody arrests somebody on a theft third, they can write them a ticket, let them go, and then they're good. But if they have another crime that's a little more offensive, we want to make sure it's documented in the criminal history world. We need to have a picture and we need to have fingerprints. So what we'll do is the officer will be able to drive to that live scan, which is the only place we have that right now is in the jail. We'll make a program where they show up, they do a picture, they do prints, and then they write the ticket, give them their ticket, and they leave. What that does is starts their criminal history, because if I was trying to run a criminal history, I have to have pictures and prints for that bad guy to have those, to be in that criminal history. Thank you very much.
So, Joseph Enzenberger. Okanogan County is a poor county. People can't afford solar. How would you make it affordable?
Well, one thing I think would help a lot is if our solar installers were county residents and lived here. When you have to get a solar system installed and they're coming from Seattle or the Tri-Cities, there's a whole lot of added cost there. And these companies tend to be bigger and more profit-oriented. The actual solar panels and inverters and stuff are not as expensive as the $30,000, for instance, that Solgen wants to charge a county resident to install a system. So first off, I would really work to create a network of installers within Okanogan County that would serve the local people, keep the money right here in the county. Secondly, there are federal grants available that can help county residents pay for these systems to be installed. And I would say that first off, you have to have a good roof for it. Putting it in a poorly oriented roof without enough full solar exposure doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to work for everybody. But if you do have a good site, and you do want to invest some of your own personal money and add it to federal grants that are available, it starts to make the solar option a little more affordable. And solar systems that are tied to the grid, of course, don't have the added expense of a battery system to run it when the sun's not shining, because you're producing power during the sunny hours of the day, and then you're using PUD power in the evening, and it's sort of a two-way meter situation, and that also makes a solar system more affordable. So I would say it's not for everyone. The prices are coming down tremendously over time. They're, a tenth of what they were 20 years ago, and the panels are much more efficient. But it needs to be looked at on an individual basis and carefully weighed economically. It's not for everybody, but where it is applicable, when we had the I-937 initiative in place and you could get paid back 54 cents a kilowatt hour for what you were producing, many people invested and they paid off their solar systems, and now they're producing power at no cost to them. It's all paid for by that initiative. It sunsetted in 2020. We don't have that available now, but there are new programs coming along, and there will be more programs in the future. So we need to be aware of those, take advantage of them where they apply to our locations and the pocketbooks of the individual people.
Do you wish wish to talk about that, or you want another question, Jerry?
I can go get your way. Here's the monitor.
Okay, you want to talk about solar, Jerry?
I can.
Okay, go right ahead.
As we, talk about cost, and we know we're a poor county, and you look at the way different grant programs are written, one of the biggest problem I see with the most recently passed IRA is that it's all funded through tax credits, non-refundable tax credits. And if you don't have a tax liability, you aren't going to get a credit. And I see this as a big hindrance to a poor county. If you're willing to invest your own money and you're looking for a grant to help offset that, I think everybody should have the opportunity to invest in their own home and their own power supply in the way they best see fit. But I just think this one promises a lot, but I don't see it being a big help to those who need it most in Okanogan County.
Okay, to the coroner's candidates. How taxing is being a coroner on one's own health? Will this be a concern for you if elected?
I have not found it to, is this loud enough for you guys?
Yes.
Okay. I have not found it to, the only time I have found it to be really taxing is when you are leaving one call and get another call and get a third call and they all start in the middle of the night and then you have to go to work the next day. That can be very taxing in that 24-hour period or 48-hour period. Other than that, it is not as taxing as one might think. Calls they're not every day. They are a sporadic thing, but you are on call 24/7, 7 days a week, or 24/7, 365. So, and with Dave being the only coroner in Okanogan County, which is the largest coroner county in the state of Washington, I can imagine it's been very taxing on him. In Ferry County, there have been up to 5 or 6 deputy coroners and the coroner, so we've been able to spread the work out a little more. So for me, it hasn't been probably as taxing as it has been for him being on his own. And that's why I think that there should be more deputy coroners in the office. Like I have said before, I've said all along, I think there should be at least 2 deputy coroners so that it's not as taxing. The coroner's office right now, as it is in Okanogan County, is the only position that you are on call 24/7, 365 by yourself and get no days off. For almost 8 years he's done that. I applaud him for that. Because it is not easy. And that's why I think we need to have more deputy coroners in the office so that people can take a day off, because you do need mental days every once in a while, especially if you have a child that has passed away. I just recently, last week, had a suicide of a boy that is my son's age that I was on. It was not an easy call. I mean, you go home and you call your son and you say, I love you. When you have a 16-year-old that dies in an ATV accident, not easy. So it can be taxing at times, so it just depends on the call. It depends on the situation. But you take those mental days, you take that time. Me, personally, I lift my life up to God and let Him, just have Him heal me and have Him relax me and keep me centered. Thank you.
Well, I'm personally really touched that someone asked that question and you have concern about your coroner. That's nice to hear. I have to agree with Jeannie.
I'm sorry.
Can't be.
Time's up.
You got out pretty quick.
Sorry. That's because I'm in good shape and ready to go. No, it is mostly, I would say, emotionally challenging, but physically as well. You get called out at all hours, and sometimes sleep is an issue. But I made, I guess, physical fitness a priority in my life. I'm still able to do this job because there is a physical component to the job. And places I have to go, the things that I have to move, you have to have a level of physical fitness. And I think I made that a priority. The mental health part, I asked my friends and family, like, keep an eye on me, you know, I'm just getting a little too goofy, then we go and have a mental health day. But I think I'm doing all right on that as well. But whoever asked the question, thank you very much. I'm touched.
Okay. To county commissioner candidates, especially Mr. Caton, you said you are fiscally and morally conservative and that you want to listen to your constituency. What if the community members' wants are different from your preset ideas? How do you listen and balance? And I'll address that to both of you gentlemen.
Well, I would hope that after I serve as your county commissioner that you don't remember me as a politician, but rather that you would remember me as a statesman. And a statesman will find common ground and listen and come up with a desired effect that's good for all the parties involved, hopefully. All of us out there, we have our little box of ideas and we have our own morals and things that we think, things that make us who we are. But that doesn't mean that if you're different than me, that the shutters go down, the ears plug, the eyes close. I'm still going to listen because your needs and your wants are just as important or more so important than mine. Thank you.
I totally agree. I mean, communication is probably the key to any public position. Making sure you listen, and a lot of times you'll have a discussion with whoever it may be, and we don't agree. I may not agree with what you're saying. You may not agree with the answer I give you, but at the end, it's a matter of what's the best solution for the majority of the people, not just a few individuals. So maybe your question or your idea is completely off base from what everybody else in the county wants, or maybe my beliefs are completely off base. That's something a person will have to listen to, analyze, and I am just one county commissioner, so in the long run, it's a matter of making sure that at least two of us agree on your issue, or I may be the odd man out and the other two agree and I think they're complete morons. But that being said, they have the majority and what they say is what's going to happen. So in the long run, it's a matter of us understanding each other, the commissioners understanding what your issues or possible complaints are, and moving forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Budrow. As a Republican, how do you see the Republican Party needs to change?
So I guess the question is, for me as a sheriff, I don't believe in enforcing the law as a Republican. I enforce the law as a nonpartisan. I enforce the law against all criminals. It doesn't matter what they do, and I protect your rights no matter what your belief is. So the answer to the question is not really related to me as a Republican. As you can tell, I am endorsed by the Republican Party, endorsed by the Farm Bureau. But again, My personal beliefs do not run the way I am will be your elected sheriff. I will protect everybody's constitutional rights and enforce the law to the best of my ability to the oath that I gave.
So, this is directed to the PUD and county commissioners. Please describe the business experiences that you bring to the office you are running for. Let's start with Joseph.
I'm a residential plumber. This is my first time in public office. I've never sat at the table of a large utility, so I don't have a lot of business experience in that sense. What I'm hoping to bring to the PUD is a sense of who the people are that we serve. And the role of the board is to lead the utility forward. It's run by the managers and the talented engineers and analysts that we have there, and the staff. And my role on the board would be to represent the people of Okanogan County in their best interests. I'm pretty good with numbers. I've run my own business for 40 years. I can certainly analyze a budget. And I would work closely with the heads of the departments that create the budget to talk to them about what their needs are and make sure that those are, justified and necessary so that the budget can be true and honest and reflect the real needs of the utility. Beyond that, I have integrity, I have honesty, I have intelligence, and I would bring all those to the board. Jerry's had a lot more experience running boards than I have. I mean, I'm the president of the Oroville Grange, but that's a very small organization compared to a public utility. I've been on the board of Habitat for Humanity for the last 10 years, and I worked a lot in that organization as a worker on the ground, but that's not the kind of experience that, runs a utility. But I would be a voice for the people. I'd be a voice of concern and consciousness, and I would like to bring a lot of new ideas to the utility. I want to do the homework to make this utility know what's available and know what some of the exciting new developments in technology are so that we can move forward in those directions. That's the kind of work I would bring to the utility. Thank you.
Before I got into some of this public experience, I do have a little bit of business experience. I started out my career with Farmers Home Administration. Then I went to Oregon for a few years where I ended up managing 1,500 mother cow operation and the associated people that it took. I've had to, unfortunately, fire people. I've met the challenges of hiring people. I then came home to the family ranch, and fortunately or unfortunately, my family has a lot of irons in the fire. So I've been an auctioneer in every corner of this county, so I have worked with and for everybody from one end of the county to the other. Like I said this morning on the radio, I've even been to Belvedere. And so also we have a cattle ranch here, we've had a livestock market, and again, I've dealt with personnel issues at all levels and meeting those budgets. And as I've gotten to be in public service, the budgets have grown, from whether it's the Conservation District budget, which is, $1 million a year budget, to a school district budget, which went exponentially up from there, to the PUD budget. And I also represent the PUD on the Energy Northwest Board, which I've been selected to be the secretary of, and they provide power to the Northwest, whether it be through their nuclear reactor, wind farms, solar farms, or hydroelectric projects. And that's some of my experience. If you want any more, feel free to ask me.
like to hear the question? Okay. It says, please describe the business experience you bring to the office you are running for. You can start. Go right ahead.
Well, the experience I bring to the office is I worked right across the street here at the bulk plant for 32 years. I was responsible for deliveries, for inventory, hiring people, recruiting new people, and as I worked there towards the end of my career there, I was an area manager from Pateros north to the Canadian border, east to Curlew, Republic, Danville. And as that person, as that manager, I was responsible for inventory, making sure it's there when it needs to be, to make sure all the equipment was running, the card guards, the bulk plants, the trucks. It was my job to make sure that the people got what they needed when they needed it, and that I had it on hand. I've also been on the school board for 12 years, and at the time I was on the school board, I know we were a $12 or $14 million budget, and as a school board member, you have oversight over that, and it works similar to the county in that you have department heads, called principals and superintendents, that present budgets and bring them to you, and then the school board either approves it or they ask for some changes, or they want to take a little money here or take a little money there and move it around and try to make it work for everyone. I remember when I was on the school board, we were preparing for a levy, and we had principals and teachers and superintendents in the room, and we were talking about the needs for the levy. And I remember looking at all the people out, and I said, okay, I don't want your Christmas list. I want your need list. I want what you need. And as county commissioner, I would approach it the same way. We can't afford to fund Christmas lists and Christmas wishes. But through careful management and living within our means, maybe we can take care of nearly all the needs. Thank you.
My business experience, I've been a business owner for the past 30 plus years, self-employed. Been in municipal government for the last 21, almost 22 years with the city of Oroville, the last 6 as mayor. So we have a multi-million-dollar budget there. I'm the chairman of the Oroville Cares Coalition, which is a youth anti-drug education organization. We're on a federal grant. We have to live within our budgets, have to write a budget. And it's a very meticulously itemized budget as far as what you can use your money for, on and on and on. Our director for that loves doing those. I'm also on Durango, which we are in, I said earlier, on middle of budget there, which is I think the last time we looked at it, it's $3.2 million budget. So I have lots of budgetary experience. Running my own business is probably the most tedious because it's just me and my wife dealing with that. The county budget has 39, I think the last time I looked, 39 separate funds. So the city of Oroville has 11. So it'll be a major step jumping into that to try to figure out whose budget is, or how much money goes into each budget and how they realistically can use it. But I think that's something I am up to the task, and I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So, to Sheriff Candidate Budrow, if elected, who will be your undersheriff? What leadership credentials do they have for the position? And what is their background in management/law enforcement?
Okay, so my number 2, my undersheriff, is going to be Dave Yarnell. He has 28 years experience within the agency. His leadership skill, he is at FTO, he is the guild president at this moment. He has, in the past, run for sheriff. He did very well running for sheriff against Frank, actually. After that, he has tested for the sergeant's position twice and been passed over for that position. Again, a lot of maybe politics and stuff went into that and the passover. I don't know any of the biases or anything like that, but he has shown the propensity to lead. He does know how to work with guilds, which is one of the big things that we will be working with within the sheriff's office. Guild is a union. That's their union, and they have things that they need to work with. He is currently the president, and knowing how that happens is very supported by the men and women within the agency. And that's pretty much how I picked him. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, if there's any more questions out there, you better get them up here, because this is about it. We're coming right down the wire here. Okay, so coming along here, Jerry, this question is directed at you. And then it says, what has been your most difficult tasks while being a PUD commissioner? And it's underlined tasks. And it's plural, with a triple underline on the S, actually. So your most difficult tasks, and I'd be curious to know what Joseph's difficult tasks have been working with the PUD. So, how about Jerry first?
Okay, I think the most difficult task as a PUD commissioner is that it's a 3-person board. With the Open Public Meeting Act in the state of Washington, that means that outside of your board meetings, you can't discuss PUD business. You can discuss the price of hay, you can discuss how that car looks, but you can't develop those relationships on a professional basis, so you can develop understandings and really find out how that person ticks. I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that I have. The other hurdles is there have been a lot of decisions that have been made in the past. Each board's a new board, and you have to own and live with those decisions. You can't rehash them. You can't redo them, no matter how much you'd like to. So I think those are two really big things, aside from, our system is old, so how you maintain it, how you upgrade it, how you provide reliable power to the customer is ever changing. I read and read and read. I'm always a build a better mousetrap kind of person. I always think there's got to be a better way, but sometimes with budget constraints and time constraints, you're left with a very simple decision. And of course, our biggest question everybody brings up is, what about the price of power? I struggle with that because we're a public entity, and every dollar we spend is your dollar. It's not some corporation. It's not building a nest egg. It is trying to provide reliable power at the most cost-effective manner. Thank you.
My biggest challenge with the PUD is the sense of getting them to listen to a different position. And this really goes back to 2012, when we were really questioning the economic viability of the Enloe Dam structure and whether the PUD should be investing large amounts of resources. I think between 2008, when they got their license, until 2018, they spent $18 million. And we hired an outside economist, Anthony Jones, Rocky Mountain Econometrics, and he was a well-recognized economist in the energy field, and he had analyzed many projects, and he produced a document that pretty much said what the board actually concluded in 2018, that this was a losing proposition, that it wasn't worth the investments that were being made, and that it wouldn't pay for itself in the end. It would cost the PUD money. And it was very frustrating to produce that document and share it with the agency and then be told by a former commissioner that it wasn't worth the paper it was written on, when in fact it was dead on. And it described the situation exactly. So that was a point of frustration, feeling that the utility board wasn't really listening to good information that was being brought by concerned citizens who had good ideas to share. And I think the PUD has a really good mission statement. It is to provide economic, reliable, sustainable energy in an ecologically, environmentally friendly manner. And I guess all along, as somebody who loves our rivers, loves our county, I didn't feel they were really living up to that environmentally friendly mandate. So that's always been a source of frustration, and I think that's a perspective that, if elected, I would try to bring to the utility board, because we do live in an amazing place. We need to enhance it. We need to make it better. We need to provide new economic opportunities for the people of our county. It's more than just running the utility, making the budgets work. It's about, what are we going to provide for our children? What are we providing for the future? And I know other utilities spend money on outdoor recreation. I think that our utility has an opportunity to provide that, as well as other jobs that could not necessarily be PUD employees, but could be enhanced by the direction of the PUD. So those are some of the frustrations I felt. I think there's a bright future for us, and the utility can play a big part in improving the job opportunities for Okanogan County through outdoor recreation, as well as some of these new forms of alternative energy, and I'd like to see that happen.
All right. Thank you both. So to the coroners, what education do you have that qualifies you to do the job of coroner? Please tell us about your medical background.
Can I say something really quick? The emergency that Sheriff Hawley had to go on involves an officer who was shot. So if you guys could just kind of maybe say a little prayer or something right now for his health, and that he's going to be okay. So back to the question. My training started a long time ago medically by becoming an EMT in emergency medicine. I got to the level of an advanced EMT-I, which allowed me to do certain other tasks that a regular EMT doesn't do. I then was trained for a position within the Forest Service, where I was a medical unit leader. On project fires, we set up like a MASH tent and on these large project fires, and injured firefighters would come in, they'd get triaged and treated if it fell within our treatment protocol. That was a real educational experience there, being the medical unit leader. When I came to Okanogan County, I immediately got on with the local ambulance service, and in addition to my full-time job, I was a volunteer on the ambulance. Within the sheriff's office experience of mine, I was the first aid CPR instructor for the sheriff's office, and continued as an EMT. I also ran the search and rescue program, where we incorporate medical training for our volunteers, and I was in charge of that, the first aid CPR stuff. Then I entered this world of the coroner, and there's training through the Washington Association of Washington Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners Office. They have a basic death investigation class, and then an advanced death investigation class, just to get you started. And I actually took that course on my own before becoming the coroner. And then when I became the coroner, I took it again, just because that was the only training available at the time. But since then, there's a rigorous continuing education requirement for anyone working in this business. And I've had specialized training in mass casualty, specialized training in child death investigation, and a whole bunch more.
So I've come to realize that our lives have kind of overlapped. I met my current husband in EMT school in 1989, and that was kind of when I started. It was a few years before that. I was on a volunteer fire department over on the coast with my first husband. And he was a registered nurse and an EMT, and so I had a lot of medical training helping him get through school, and also through the EMT program, being an EMT for working with a volunteer fire department over there, and then coming over here and being an EMT over here with the Republic and with the Colville tribe. I've been, like I said, being a deputy coroner for now 20 years, and have had numerous trainings through being a coroner, through the Washington State Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners, the basic training, the advanced training, SIDS training. I've also had mass casualty, crime scene investigation, writing reports, all kinds of training they offer through them. I have also been to training in Las Vegas twice through the International Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners, and getting training down there and making connections all around the world through those trainings. And so I have had a lot of training just like Dave has. I think we're both very qualified for this position. And I don't think that's a question that either one of us have. Thank you.
Okay, so for the commissioner candidates, what kind of homeless programs do you propose? Let's start with Mr. Caton.
Well, the homeless situation here in Okanogan County isn't good. It's not good anywhere in the state. I don't believe that the county needs to get into the housing business. Our tax base here in this county is on less than 1 million acres of over 3 million acre county. To provide homes and shelter for the homeless would require fees and taxes that most of you are unwilling to pay, or we would have to curtail services that we have now. I think the best thing we can do for the homeless people is partner with the state programs and the federal programs that are available to rent space, to provide warming places and possibly even shelter and homes for those people. But as county commissioner, I can't see me pushing the county towards getting into the housing business for people. I don't think we can do it. Thank you.
Yeah, the homeless is a very sad subject. It is one of those things that we are all having to live with. It's a nationwide problem. Spokane's dealing with it on a much larger scale than we are. They just put in a shelter. Just the maintenance fees, not the building, nothing else, but the maintenance fee for that shelter is $6.5 million annually. That's something we know that our county cannot afford. I think it's one of those things that a person needs to figure out what programs are available, what state funding, what federal funding possibly is out there to assist other groups. Because I agree with Lloyd, I don't feel like the county should be the administrator of that. typically, private parties can do the job better than the government can, and for a lot less money. So if we can figure out a way to assist them in that process through funding, through the government or the county administering those grants for those groups, I'm all for that, but I don't think as a whole the county needs to be in charge of that. But it is something that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, our final question, unless I have any more out there that didn't come in. Okay, for the coroner's position. Are you a party to any lawsuit, either civil or criminal, at this time? And to Mr. I'm sorry. To Mr. Rodriguez, what changed your mind to be a write-in in the primary? Oh, what changed your mind to be a voter? No, that isn't it either. What changed your mind to be a write-in candidate in the primary?
I don't know if you're going to allow this, moderator, but I just had a little sidebar with Jeannie, and we feel like we've asked that or answered that one, and I think we've decided, sorry, that we're going to pass on that question. I do want to say, I am probably talking for everyone up here, you guys are amazing. You're still here after so many hours and so many great questions.
2.5 hours.
Thank you for, this is the most enduring crowd I've seen. So thank you, and hopefully you're not put out or offended that we're passing on that one.
No, it's been good.
Thank you all. Thank you all candidates. And I would say that if you've been inspired by any of these folks up here tonight, they all have signs, yard signs. Go put them up. But look, wherever you put up a yard sign, by gosh, after the election, take it down. Right, put it in. You can build with those things. Enjoy your evening. Thanks for coming.